Part 1. The Vanishing. The observation deck of the Galactic Council Station hummed with activity. Dozens of alien beings crowded around the massive viewing screens, their eyes fixed on the 12 human warships floating in the darkness of space. For 3 months they had watched these strange vessels move through formation exercises near Earth's moon. Ambassador Thelvar adjusted his viewing apparatus, his 4 eyes narrowing with suspicion. The humans had built these ships quickly, far too quickly for a species that had barely left their home planet. His species, the Crithians, had been traveling through space for over 5,000 years. They knew how long it took to build a proper war fleet. Something was wrong about all of this. They are hiding something, Thelvar said to the council members around him. No species builds ships like these without help. Perhaps they found ancient technology on one of their colony worlds. High Monitor Kextal, the eldest member of the council, shook his enormous head. His species had been watching over the galaxy for longer than any other. He had seen countless civilizations rise and fall. Humans are different, he said slowly. They learn fast. Too fast, perhaps, but they learn. On one of the smaller screens, a Vryn representative chittered nervously. The Vryn were an insect-like species known for their scientific achievements. Their energy signatures are unusual. The power cores in those ships do not match any known design. We should make contact before they become a threat. Or before they destroy themselves, another voice added. This came from a reptilian creature representing the Besh Collective. Young species often create weapons they cannot control. Down on Earth, inside the flagship Indomitable, Admiral Hyun stood on the bridge with his hands clasped behind his back. He was a man in his 60s with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. He had served in Earth's military for 40 years, fighting in the colony wars and the resource conflicts that had nearly destroyed humanity. Now he commanded the most advanced fleet his species had ever created. Status report, Hyun said calmly. Captain Doyen looked up from his tactical station. He was younger than the admiral, lean and intense with the focused energy of a man who had spent his whole life preparing for war. All ships report ready, Admiral. The phase shift generators are operating at full capacity. We can activate on your command. Across the bridge, Dr. Minji checked her displays one final time. She was a brilliant woman in her 30s, with tired eyes from too many sleepless nights spent perfecting the technology that would change everything. Her hands moved across the controls with practiced ease, even though her heart was racing. This was the moment they had been working toward for 2 years. The math is solid, Minji said quietly. It will work, Hyun nodded once. He had trusted Minji's calculations when everyone else said they were impossible. He would trust them now. Commander Ji-won, are your people ready? On the smallest ship in the fleet, Commander Ji-won smiled. She was the youngest captain in the fleet at only 32 years old, but she had earned her position through brilliance and courage. Ready and waiting, Admiral. My crew is eager to see if this actually works. It will work, Minji said firmly, though her voice carried over the communication channel to all 12 ships. Trust the science, Hyun took a deep breath. All ships, this is Admiral Hyun. Today we take the first step into a new era for humanity. We have been watched by the Galactic Council for years. They think they know us. They think they understand what we are capable of. Today we show them how wrong they are. Activate phase shift on my mark. Back on the council station, the aliens watched the human fleet begin to glow within strange blue-white light. Energy readings spiked across every sensor. What are they doing? Thelvar demanded. Is it a weapon test? Get our shields up, someone shouted. The human ships grew brighter and brighter until the light was almost blinding. Then in an instant that seemed to stretch forever, the 12 warships simply vanished. No explosion, no warp signature, no debris field. They were simply gone, as if they had never existed at all. The council station erupted into chaos. Alarms blared. Aliens shouted in a dozen different languages. Thelvar was on his feet, all 4 of his arms gesturing wildly. Scan the area! Find them! They must have jumped to light speed, but the scanners showed nothing. No warp trails, no heat signatures, no quantum distortions. The human ships had not moved through normal space or hyperspace. They had not exploded or been destroyed. According to every sensor in the system, they had ceased to exist. Kextal studied the readings carefully, his ancient mind working through the implications. This is new, he said softly. In all my years, I have never seen technology like this. They destroyed themselves, the Vryn representative insisted. Some experimental drive system that failed catastrophically. We must send rescue ships immediately. There is nothing to rescue, Thelvar said grimly. They are gone. Completely gone. But even as he spoke, he felt a cold fear growing in his chest. What if the humans had not destroyed themselves? What if they had gone somewhere else? Somewhere the Council could not follow? Days passed. The Council sent probe after probe to scan the area where the human fleet had vanished. They found only one thing of interest, a faint quantum signature that none of their scientists could explain. It was as if the ships had been displaced rather than destroyed, shifted into some dimension that the Council's technology could not detect. Debates raged for weeks. Some wanted to send ships to Earth to demand answers. Others argued that Earth might be dangerous, that they might have developed a weapon that could erase matter itself. The Council was divided and frightened. Then, on the 43rd day after the fleet's disappearance, something happened that made everything worse. A mining colony on the edge of Crithian space went silent. It was a small facility with only 200 workers, harvesting rare minerals from an asteroid field. When scouts arrived to investigate, they found the colony completely abandoned. The workers were gone. The equipment was still running. Food was left half-eaten in the cafeteria, and every sensor in the facility showed the same strange quantum signature that had appeared when Earth's fleet vanished. Thelvar stood in the empty colony, his 4 eyes scanning the silent corridors, fear twisted in his stomach. The humans did not destroy themselves, he said quietly to his subordinates. They are out there, somewhere we cannot see them, and now they are taking our people. Within hours, the news spread across the galaxy. Panic began to set in. If the humans could disappear and make others disappear, what else could they do? Were they watching even now, invisible and unstoppable? The Galactic Council called an emergency session. War fleets began to mobilize. Ancient defense treaties were activated. The galaxy stood on the edge of chaos, all because 12 human ships had vanished into thin air. And somewhere in the darkness of space, in a place between dimensions where no sensors could reach, Admiral Hyun watched the galaxy descend into panic and allowed himself a small, grim smile. The mission had begun. Part 2. Ghost Protocol inside the Indomitable. Admiral Hyun walked through corridors that existed in 2 places at once. To his eyes, the ship looked normal. Metal walls, glowing panels, crew members moving about their duties. But outside in regular space, his ship and the entire fleet had ceased to exist. They were ghosts, present but invisible, watching a galaxy that could not see them. Dr. Minji met him in the observation room. Through the special viewing screens, they could see everything happening in normal space. The Council station still orbited Earth, its lights blazing with activity. They were searching desperately for any sign of the vanished human fleet. How long can we maintain this? Hyun asked. Minji pulled up a display showing power consumption rates. 6 months, maybe 7 if we're careful. The phase shift generators use enormous amounts of energy. After that, we'll need to return to normal space to refuel and recharge. 6 months is enough, Hyun said. It has to be. Captain Doyen entered the room carrying a data pad filled with reports. Admiral, all ships have successfully transitioned to ghost space. No casualties, no technical failures. We are completely undetectable to Council sensors. He paused, then added quietly, We're also getting reports from the Council's communications. They think we destroyed ourselves. Good, Hyun said firmly. Let them think that for now. Fear and confusion will keep them off balance while we do our work. Commander Jiwon's face appeared on the communication screen. She was aboard her ship, the smallest and fastest in the fleet, perfect for reconnaissance. Admiral, I'm picking up some interesting chatter on Council channels. They're scared. Really scared. Some of them want to attack Earth immediately before we can build more ships. Hyun felt a flash of anger but kept his voice calm. That's exactly why we're doing this. We needed to know their intentions before revealing ourselves properly. Jiwon, take your ship deeper into Council space. I want to know everything about their military capabilities. Yes, sir, Jiwon said with a slight smile. It will be nice to fly around without anyone shooting at me for once. Over the next weeks, the human fleet spread out across known space like invisible scouts. They passed through Council territory, slipping past guard stations and patrol fleets that never knew they were there. They recorded everything: ship designs, weapon systems, trade routes, military bases. What they found was both reassuring and terrifying. The Galactic Council was old, very old. Some species had been traveling through space for thousands of years. Their technology was mature and reliable, but it had not changed much in centuries. They had grown comfortable with their superiority over younger species. They did not expect surprises, but they were also dangerous. Doyen compiled tactical reports that made for grim reading. The Council had thousands of warships, planetary defense systems that could slag continents, and weapons that humanity could barely understand. If they decided Earth was a threat and needed to be eliminated, humanity would be crushed in weeks. Even worse, some of them had already been planning exactly that. G1 discovered it during a routine surveillance mission. She had positioned her ship near a Crithian military base, recording communications and observing fleet movements. What she found made her blood run cold. "Admiral, you need to see this," she said urgently over the secure channel. "I'm sending you encrypted files from Crithian Military Planning Division." Hyun opened the files with Doyen and Minji looking over his shoulder. What they saw was laid out in meticulous detail: invasion plans for the Sol system. The Crithians had been preparing for years, waiting for the right moment to strike. They had identified Earth's colonies, mapped out our defense networks, calculated exactly how long it would take to conquer humanity. They had planned to attack within 2 years. "Those lying bastards," Doyen said through clenched teeth. They were sitting on the council pretending to debate peaceful contact while planning genocide. Minji was pale. "If we had revealed ourselves normally, followed standard first contact protocols, we would have given them exactly what they needed to finish their invasion plans." Hyun sat back in his chair, suddenly looking every one of his 60 years. "How many others know about this?" Ji-won checked the files. "It seems like just the Crithians. The other council species don't know. But Admiral, if the Crithians were planning this, who else might be?" It was a sobering thought. The human fleet continued its ghost reconnaissance with renewed urgency. They needed information, needed to understand the political landscape they were entering. Every species in the council had its own agenda, its own fears and ambitions. But then something happened that changed everything. Doyen was monitoring long-range sensors when he noticed something odd. Another mining colony had gone dark, this time in Vryn space. Then another in Besh territory. All of them showed the same quantum signature that appeared when the human fleet had vanished. "Admiral," Doyen said slowly, "I don't think we're alone in ghost space anymore." Minji ran detailed scans of the quantum signatures. Her face grew more concerned with each passing minute. "These signatures are similar to ours, but not identical. The phase variance is different, the energy pattern is more crude. This is older technology, much older." "How much older?" Hyun asked. "Centuries, maybe millennia. Someone invented ghost space technology long before we did, and they're using it right now." The implications hit everyone at once. The human fleet had not pioneered phase shift technology. They had rediscovered something ancient, something that had been used before and then lost or hidden, and whoever originally created it was still out there, still using it, and they were attacking council territory. Ji-won's voice came through with barely controlled fear. "Admiral, I'm detecting movement in ghost space near my position. Something big. Multiple contacts. They're not human ship. Can they see you?" Hyun demanded. "I don't know. Our sensors weren't designed to detect other ghost space objects. We never thought." Her transmission cut off. Ji-won. "Commander, report." Hyun was on his feet, every muscle tense. Static. Then, after what felt like forever, Ji-won's voice returned. "I'm here." "Still here?" "They passed right by me. Dozens of ships, Admiral, big ones. They're heading toward a civilian habitat in this sector." Minji pulled up star charts. "That habitat has 3 million people. Mixed species, mostly families and traders. If those ships attack, we maintain radio silence," Doyen said firmly. "Our mission is reconnaissance and intelligence gathering. We can't reveal ourselves every time the Council faces a threat." "Those are civilians," Ji-won said, and her voice carried an edge that could cut steel. "Families, children, and we have the power to stop this." Hyun looked at the tactical displays showing the positions of his 12 ships scattered across Council space. He thought about the Crithian invasion plans, about how these same species had been debating whether to wipe out humanity. He thought about his orders from Earth Command. Gather information and return. Do not engage unless directly threatened. Then he thought about 3 million people dying while he had the power to save them. "Captain Doyen, Recall all ships, Hyun said quietly. We're about to break every order we were given. Dr. Minji, I need you to make your phase shift generator do something new. Can you create a pulse that would force other ghost space vessels back into normal space? Minji's eyes widened. Theoretically, yes. But it would expose us too. Everyone would see us, I know, Hyun said. Commander Ji-won, stay close to those enemy ships. Track them. When we're ready, we're going to show the galaxy that humanity is not extinct. And we're going to show them that we don't abandon people to die, even if those people were planning to invade us. Across the fleet, in the spaces between dimensions, 12 human warships began moving toward a single point. The age of hiding was about to end. Part 3. The Predators. The enemy mothership was massive, easily 3 times the size of Admiral Hyun's flagship. It hung in ghost space like a predator waiting to strike, its hull covered in technology that looked both ancient and terrifyingly advanced. Around it, smaller attack craft moved in perfect formation, their weapons already charging. Commander Ji-won watched from her hidden position, her ship's sensors recording everything. Admiral, I'm sending you their tactical formation now. They're definitely military vessels, and they know exactly what they're doing. This is not some pirate raid. On the Indomitable's bridge, Dr. Minji worked frantically at her station. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she modified the phase shift generator, turning it from a hiding tool into a weapon. I need 10 more minutes, she said. The calculations have to be perfect or we'll tear ourselves apart when we decloak. You have 5, Hyun said calmly, though his heart was racing. Captain Doyen, what's our tactical situation? Doyen studied the display showing all 12 human ships converging on the civilian habitat. We'll have them outnumbered, but those enemy vessels are bigger and likely more heavily armed. On the bright side, they won't see us coming until we're already firing. Small comfort, Hyun muttered. He opened a channel to all his ships. Listen carefully, all of you. What we're about to do will reveal humanity to the entire galaxy. There's no going back after this. Some of you might die today. The people we're saving don't know us, don't care about us, and some of them want us dead. But we're not the kind of species that hides while civilians get slaughtered. We're better than that. We have to be better than that. Across the fleet, crews prepared for battle. Weapons systems came online for the first time since the ships were built. Shields charged to maximum. Young men and women checked their stations one final time, knowing that everything they had trained for was about to happen. In normal space, the civilian habitat continued its daily routine, unaware of the danger approaching. The station was a massive cylinder spinning slowly to create artificial gravity. Through its transparent sections, thousands of beings could be seen going about their lives, working, eating, teaching children, shopping in markets. A peaceful community representing a dozen different species, all living together under Council protection. That protection was about to fail them. The Galactic Council's defense fleet was still 2 hours away, responding to distress signals from the lost mining colonies. They had no idea that a massive enemy force was about to decloak directly above a civilian population. 1 minute, Minji announced. I'm ready when you are, Admiral. Hyun looked at the enemy formation one last time. The mothership was positioning itself directly above the habitat's most populated section. When it opened fire, millions would die in the first salvo. All ships on my mark, decloak and fire immediately. Don't give them time to react, he counted down silently in his head. 3, 2, 1, mark. In an instant that seemed to bend reality itself, 12 human warships exploded into normal space. The effect was devastating. The enemy fleet, which had been completely alone in ghost space, suddenly found itself surrounded by vessels that hadn't existed a second before. Minji activated the resonance pulse. A wave of energy rippled out from the human fleet, interacting with the enemy ship's own ghost space generators. The ancient vessels flickered and screamed with feedback, their stealth systems overloaded by technology they had never encountered before. They were forced into normal space, fully visible and vulnerable. The enemy was caught completely off guard, but they recovered with terrifying speed. The mothership's weapons came online instantly, massive energy cannons that could crack planets, but Admiral Hyun had positioned his ships perfectly. As the mothership turned to fire, it found Commander Ji-won's small vessel directly in its path. Most commanders would have run. Ji-won accelerated forward. What is she doing? Someone shouted on the Indomitable's bridge. Buying us time, Doyen said grimly. She's too small for their main guns to track effectively at close range. Jiwan's ship danced through the space between the mothership and the habitat, her pilot flying with insane precision. Enemy fire tracked her desperately, but she was too fast, too agile. Every shot that missed her flew harmlessly into empty space instead of hitting the civilian station. All ships concentrate fire on the mothership's port side, Hyun ordered. Hit them where their shields are weakest. The human fleet opened fire as one. 12 warships, their weapons designed by people who had spent centuries fighting each other in brutal wars, unleashed everything they had. The technology might have been newer than the Council's ancient weapons, but it was no less deadly. The mothership's shields flared and buckled under the concentrated assault. Explosions rippled across its hull, but it was not defenseless. Return fire lashed out and one of the human ships took a direct hit. The vessel shuddered but held together, its crew scrambling to repair damage. They're tough, Doyen observed. Tougher than Council ships. They've had thousands of years to perfect their designs, Minji said, still analyzing enemy technology even in the middle of battle. These ships are ancient. Wait, I'm picking up data from their systems. Admiral, these are Veshkari vessels. The name meant nothing to the humans, but across Council space the word was sending shockwaves through every species. The Veshkari had been thought extinct for over 1,000 years, destroyed in a war so terrible that most species refused to speak of it. They had once ruled a third of the galaxy with brutal efficiency, using ghost space technology to strike from nowhere and vanish before retaliation could come. On the Council station near Earth, High Monitor Kextel felt his ancient blood run cold. The Veshkari live, he whispered. After all this time, they return. Back at the battle, the Veshkari mothership was dying but not dead. It turned away from the habitat, its captain apparently deciding that survival was more important than the mission. The smaller attack craft tried to cover its retreat, but the human fleet had tasted blood now. Press the attack, Hyun ordered. Don't let them regroup. But Ji-won's voice cut through the tactical chatter. Admiral, I'm reading more signatures, lots more. There's a whole fleet waiting just at the edge of sensor range. We need to let them go and get out of here. Hyun wanted to argue, wanted to finish what they had started. But he had not survived 40 years of military service by being stupid. All ships cease fire. Let them run. Our mission was to save the habitat, not win a war. The Veshkari ships vanished back into ghost space, their mothership trailing atmosphere and debris. The human fleet held position around the civilian habitat, their weapons still charged, ready for another attack that did not come. Inside the habitat, millions of beings stared through the transparent sections at the strange warships that had appeared from nowhere, ships they had never seen before, flying patterns they did not recognize using technology that should not exist. Every communication channel lit up with questions. Who were these ships? Where had they come from? Why had they saved the habitat when the Council could not? On the Indomitable's bridge, Hyun took a deep breath. The moment of truth had arrived. He opened a broadcast on all frequencies, knowing that his next words would be heard by every species in Council space. This is Admiral Hyun of the Earth United Space Command. Humanity requests formal audience with the Galactic Council. We have information about the Veshkari threat that you need to hear. The transmission sent, he turned to Minji and Doyun. Both looked shaken but proud. Well, Hyun said dryly, I suppose we're not hiding anymore. No, sir, Doyun agreed. We are very much not hiding. Through the viewing screens, they could see Council defense ships finally arriving, their weapons trained on the human fleet. More and more vessels appeared as word spread of the battle and Earth survival. Within an hour, the human fleet was surrounded by 300 Council warships, all demanding answers. And somewhere in the darkness beyond known space, the Veshkari fleet regrouped and prepared. They had lost a battle, but the war was just beginning. Part 4. First Contact Protocol. The Galactic Council chamber was the largest room Admiral Hyun had ever seen. It stretched hundreds of meters in every direction, with seating arranged in circular tiers that rose toward a domed ceiling, showing the stars beyond. Representatives from 50 different species filled the space, and every single one of them was staring at the humans who stood in the center. Hyun stood tall, despite his exhaustion. Beside him were Dr. Minji, Captain Doyen, and Commander Ji-won. 4 humans facing a galaxy that did not trust them, did not understand them, and in many cases feared them. High Monitor Kextel spoke first, his ancient voice carrying easily across the vast chamber. Admiral Hyun of Earth, You have revealed technology that threatens the balance of power in our galaxy. You have spied on council members while invisible. You have engaged in military action without authorization. Explain yourself. Hyun had prepared for this moment during the long flight to the council station. He spoke clearly and simply, knowing that his words were being translated into 50 languages. We come in peace, but we are not fools. For years you watched us without revealing yourselves. You studied us, analyzed our capabilities, debated our fate. We knew we were being watched. We chose to watch back. Murmurs rippled through the council. Ambassador Thelvar rose to his feet, all 4 of his arms gesturing angrily. You violated our sovereignty. You stole our secrets. And you planned to invade us, Doyen said coldly, stepping forward. He held up a data device. We have your military plans, Ambassador. Every detail of how the Krithian Empire intended to conquer Earth and enslave our colonies. Should we share those plans with the Council? The chamber erupted into chaos. Species turned on each other. Accusations flying in every direction. Thelvar tried to speak, to defend himself, but his voice was drowned out. Security forces moved toward him, their weapons drawn. Kextal raised one massive hand and silence fell. The Krithian ambassador will be detained and questioned. These are serious charges. He turned his ancient eyes back to the humans. But this does not excuse your deception. You're right, Minji said, speaking for the first time. Her voice was soft but carried surprising strength. We did deceive you. We developed phase shift technology in secret and used it to spy on you. But understand our position. We are a young species barely off our home planet. We look up at the stars and see civilizations thousands of years old, with weapons that could destroy us in days. What would you do in our place? A Vryn representative chittered thoughtfully. We would protect ourselves. As you did. As we had to, Minji continued. But when we saw the Veshkari preparing to attack civilians, we revealed ourselves. We could have stayed hidden, safe in ghost space. Instead, we risked everything to save people who are not even our own species. Does that sound like a threat to you? More murmurs, these ones less hostile. Jiwon stepped forward, her youth and obvious sincerity working in her favor. We didn't come here as conquerors or invaders. We came because we're scared and alone and we needed to understand the galaxy before revealing ourselves. Was that wrong? Maybe. But it kept us alive long enough to help you fight the Veshkari. An elderly representative from the Besh Collective spoke up, her voice raspy with age. The Veshkari have returned. That changes everything. High Monitor, we thought them extinct. How is this possible? Kextal gestured to the humans. Perhaps our new friends can tell us. They seem to have learned much during their spying. Doyen activated the data device, projecting holographic images into the center of the chamber. Ships appeared, dozens of them, all bearing the same ancient design as the mothership they had fought. We detected 40 Veshkari vessels at the edge of known space. These are not remnants or refugees. This is an invasion fleet. The council chamber went silent. Fear was a universal emotion, it turned out. Every species understood what those ships meant. They're using ghost space technology, Minji explained, bringing up technical diagrams. The same principle as our phase shift, but much older and cruder. We think they invented this technology thousands of years ago. When you defeated them in the ancient war, they didn't die. They hid in ghost space and rebuilt their forces. And now they return to reclaim what they see as rightfully theirs. Kextal finished. This is a threat to every species in council space. Jiwon seized the moment. We have a proposal. Humanity will share phase shift technology with the Council in exchange for formal membership and mutual defense treaties. With our technology, your ships can detect and fight Veshkari vessels in ghost space. Without it, you'll be fighting blind. You would share this technology freely? The Vryn representative asked suspiciously. After going to such lengths to hide it? We're not sharing it freely, Hyun said bluntly. We're trading it for acceptance and protection. Earth is strong, but we're not strong enough to stand alone against an invasion. Neither are you. Together we might survive. Divided we all die. The logic was simple and brutal. Several council members nodded slowly. Others still looked suspicious, but fear of the Veshkari was stronger than fear of humanity. A new voice spoke up, this one belonging to a species that had been silent until now. What guarantee do we have that you will not use this technology against us? You could hide entire fleets in ghost space and strike without warning. The same guarantee we have that you won't use it against us, Minji said. Mutual destruction. If we attack you, you can attack us. The technology works both ways. We're proposing trust backed by equal capability. Doyen added. Besides, we could have stayed hidden and watched the Veshkari destroy you. We didn't. That should tell you something about who we are. The debate raged for hours. Some species argued for accepting Earth immediately. Others wanted restrictions and monitoring. A few demanded that humanity be quarantined until their intentions were clear. But slowly, inevitably, the Council moved toward acceptance. The Veshkari threat was simply too great to ignore. Finally, as the chamber's light began to dim with the approaching night cycle, Kextal called for a vote. All in favor of granting Earth provisional membership in the Galactic Council, with full technology sharing and mutual defense obligations. The vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. 42 species voted yes. Only 8 voted no. Welcome to the Galactic Council, Admiral Hyun, Kextal said formally. May this alliance prove beneficial to us all. Hyun allowed himself a small smile. Thank you, High Monitor. Now let's talk about how we're going to fight the Veshkari before they kill us all. As the Council began organizing its defense, Minji pulled Hyun aside. Her face was troubled. Admiral, I need to tell you something. When I analyzed the Veshkari technology during the battle, I found something disturbing. What? Their ghost space signature was similar to ours, but also different. They've been developing this technology for thousands of years. They know things about phase shifting that we haven't discovered yet. And based on the power readings from their mothership, I think they have more than 40 vessels. A lot more. Hyun felt cold dread settle in his stomach. How many more? I can't be certain, but the energy patterns suggest at least 200 ships, maybe more. Admiral, the fleet we fought was a scouting force. The real invasion hasn't even started yet. Across the chamber, Council members were celebrating their new alliance with Earth, believing that the worst was behind them. They had no idea that the true war was just beginning, and neither did humanity, which had just committed its tiny fleet of 12 ships to defending a galaxy against an enemy that had been preparing for this moment for over 1,000 years. Hyun looked at his officers, seeing the same realization dawning on their faces. They had saved the habitat, earned Earth's place at the Council, and revealed themselves to the galaxy. They had done everything right, and it might not be enough. Part 5. Humanity's Gambit. The war room aboard the Council station had been designed to hold strategic meetings for a dozen species at most. Now it was packed with representatives from 40 civilizations, all arguing at once about how to defend against the Veshkari invasion. Admiral Hyun stood at the center, trying to make sense of the chaos. We should fortify the border worlds, a Krithian general was saying. New leadership had taken over after Ambassador Thelvar's arrest, but they were no less aggressive. Build defensive stations and wait for them to come to us. That's suicide, a Vryn commander chittered. The Veshkari can appear anywhere using ghost space. Fortifications are useless. Then we need to take the fight to them, another voice argued. Strike first before they're ready. We don't even know where they are, someone else pointed out. Hyun had heard enough. He slammed his hand on the table, the sharp sound cutting through the arguments. Stop. All of you, just stop. When he had their attention, he continued more calmly. You're thinking like this is a normal war. It's not. The Veshkari don't play by normal rules. We need to think differently. High Monitor Kextal nodded slowly. The human is correct. What do you propose, Admiral? A trap, Hyun said simply. We use our phase shift technology against them. Dr. Minji has been working with your scientists to adapt the generators for your ships, but it's slow going. Most of your species don't have the fine control needed for phase shifting. Minji stepped forward, looking exhausted from days without sleep. We've had some success, but there's a problem. Your ships are too big, too complex. The phase shift generators can't handle the mass and energy requirements. It would take years to redesign your entire fleet. So we don't redesign the fleet, Commander Jiwon said, standing beside her captain. We put human operators on your ships. Mixed crews. Our people handle the phase shifting. Your people handle everything else. The room erupted again, this time with protests about sovereignty and security. The idea of allowing aliens aboard military vessels was too much for some species to accept. Captain Doyen raised his voice above the noise. You don't have a choice. Without phase shift capability, you're fighting blind. The Veshkari will tear you apart. Pride won't save your planets, but cooperation might. It was Kextal who broke the deadlock. The humans saved a civilian habitat when they could have stayed hidden. They shared technology when they could have kept it secret. They have earned some trust. I vote to accept mixed crews. One by one, other species agreed. Not because they wanted to, but because they had no other option. Within days, human technicians and operators were being shuttled to council ships across the fleet. Young men and women who had never left Earth's solar system were suddenly serving alongside aliens who had been traveling the stars for millennia. The cultural shock went both ways. Humans discovered that Vryn found their eating habits disgusting. Besh discovered that humans told jokes during combat drills. Krathians learned that humans were annoyingly informal with superior officers. And everyone learned that when humans got nervous, they made everything into competition. But slowly, awkwardly, the mixed crews began to function. Doyen spent weeks developing the tactical plan. It was risky, maybe insane, but it was also their best chance. We create a fake supply convoy, he explained to the assembled commanders. We load it with valuable resources that the Veshkari will want. Then we position 200 ships in ghost space around the convoy. When the Veshkari decloak to attack, we phase in and surround them. What if they don't take the bait? A Besh commander asked. Then we try something else, Hyun said. But I don't think we'll need to. The Veshkari have been hiding for 1,000 years, rebuilding their empire in secret. They think they're the only ones with ghost space technology. They'll be confident, maybe too confident. The trap was set near a neutral trade station. 20 transport ships heavily laden with supplies moved through space in a deliberately vulnerable formation. They broadcast their cargo manifests openly, making no attempt to hide their value. It was an irresistible target. In ghost space, 200 warships waited. Human operators sat at phase shift controls alongside alien crew members, their hands ready on the activation sequences. On the Indomitable, Hyun watched his tactical display and tried to stay calm. Hours passed. Then days. Some commanders began to doubt the plan. Maybe the Veshkari were smarter than they thought. Maybe they could detect the trap somehow. Then, on the 5th day, sensors detected quantum distortions around the convoy. The Veshkari were coming. 40 massive warships phased into normal space, surrounding the supply convoy in perfect formation. They moved with the confidence of hunters who had never been challenged, never been defeated. Their weapons charged, preparing to obliterate the defenseless transports. Now, Hyun said quietly, 200 council ships exploded into existence around the Veshkari fleet. The effect was devastating. The hunters became the hunted in an instant, trapped inside a sphere of enemy vessels that had appeared from nowhere. The Veshkari tried to phase back into ghost space, but Minji had been ready for that. She activated a quantum disruption field that locked them into normal space, unable to flee. They were caught completely and utterly. The battle that followed was brutal. The Veshkari fought with desperate fury, their ancient weapons tearing through council shields. 3 allied ships were destroyed in the first minute. But the humans had taught the council something valuable. In space combat, tactical coordination was worth more than individual strength. Jiwan's ship danced between enemy vessels, her human pilot and Vryn gunners working in perfect harmony. Doyen directed fire from a Besh heavy cruiser, his tactical mind making split-second decisions that saved dozens of lives. Across the fleet, mixed crews proved that cooperation could overcome even ancient technology and experience. But the Veshkari were not finished. Their flagship, a vessel older than most civilizations, began charging a weapon that made every sensor scream warnings. Energy readings spiked to levels that should have been impossible. That's a planet killer, Minji said, her voice tight with fear. If they fire that at the trade station, I know, Hyun said. He was already moving, his flagship accelerating toward the enemy vessel. All ships concentrate fire on the flagship. We need to stop that weapon. The Allied fleet poured everything they had into the Veshkari flagship. Its shields held, ancient technology absorbing punishment that would have destroyed younger vessels. The planet killer weapon continued charging. Yun made a decision that he knew would be his last. Evacuate the ship. All crew to the escape pods now. Admiral, what are you doing? Doyen demanded. What needs to be done? Hyun was already overriding safety protocols, pushing the reactor past safe limits. That weapon will kill billions. We can stop it, but someone has to stay and maintain the disruption field manually. The automated systems can't handle it. Then I'm staying with you, Doyen said firmly. No, your people need you to live. Hyun smiled tiredly. I'm an old man, Doyen. I've had my time. Let me end it doing something that matters. The crew evacuated in a rush of activity, lifeboats launching toward nearby Allied vessels. But Hyun stayed on the bridge, his hands on the controls pushing his ship toward the enemy flagship. The Indomitable's reactor screamed as he forced more and more power into the quantum disruption field. The field expanded, washing over the Veshkari flagship. Their shields failed, their phase drive locked, and most importantly, their planet-killer weapon destabilized as the quantum disruption interfered with its exotic physics. The weapon exploded, taking the Veshkari flagship with it. The shockwave hit the Indomitable like a hammer, tearing through already failing systems. Hyun had just enough time to think that it had been a good life, a good death before everything went white. When the battle ended, 37 Veshkari ships had been destroyed or captured. 3 surrendered, their commanders requesting asylum rather than returning to their remnant empire. They explained that their people were divided between those who wanted peace and those who wanted revenge. Today, the revenge faction had been dealt a crippling blow. The Allied fleet returned to Council space with its prisoners and its wounded. They had lost 15 ships and thousands of lives, but they had won a victory that would echo across the galaxy. The Veshkari were not invincible. They could be beaten. At Admiral Hyun's memorial, representatives from 50 species gathered. Humans stood beside Vryn, beside Besh, beside Krithians, who had once planned Earth's destruction. High Monitor Kextel spoke of sacrifice and courage. Others spoke of the human admiral who had saved billions of lives in his final moments. Commander Jiwon, promoted to admiral to replace Hyun, gave the final speech. Her voice was steady, though her heart was breaking. Admiral Hyun believed that we're all stronger together than apart. He proved it by trusting aliens who had once been our enemies. He died protecting people he had never met, defending worlds that weren't his own. That's not just human courage. That's the kind of courage that builds civilizations. Dr. Minji was appointed to head the Galactic Institute of Technology, the first human to lead such a prestigious organization. She vowed to continue developing technologies that would keep the galaxy safe, honoring Hyun's memory through her work. Captain Doyen took command of